Hi, everyone. This is Loren Baker, along with Raj Nijjer from Yext. Please say hi, Raj.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
Really good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying the sunny weather in Arizona right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm enjoying.
perfect time of year to be here.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the sunny weather in California as well. A little bit windier though than where you are, I believe. Um, so just to let everyone know, we're doing a Facebook Live today. This is a Search Engine Nerds Facebook Live. Basically, at Search Engine Journal, what we do is, and when I'm recording our podcasts, I'll have a podcast guest on the Facebook Live. Then we'll take the HD audio from the Facebook Live recording and utilize that for the podcast. From a marketing perspective, what we get out of that is the ability to use one form of content, being a video interview with an expert and influencer like Raj, to be able to have a Facebook Live, archived video on YouTube. We'll download the audio for our podcast, and then what we'll do is we'll transcribe that audio for a podcast recap on the blog itself. It's really a great exercise in the utilization and optimization of content marketing experiences. So we'll be doing a case study on this in the future, and please look out for that. So what I'm going to do is an official intro in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the Search Engine Nerds podcast. So let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. This is Loren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal. With me today, I have Raj Nijjer from Yext. Please say hi, Raj, and take a chance to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you and Yext.
Hello, nerds. So my name is Raj. I work with Yext. I'm the VP of Community, and I also run geomarketing.com, which is also a newsroom from Yext.
Excellent, excellent. So can you tell us a little bit more about Yext, what Yext is, what you do, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so Yext, if you're thinking about Yext, Yext really believes that for any brand, they're in complete control of their digital knowledge. And that digital knowledge is people, places, products. And we want to make sure that digital knowledge is everywhere. So if you think about a brand that has locations, that has obviously a name, address, phone, hours, website, our mission is to make sure that brand is in control of that digital knowledge on properties like Google, Bing, Yahoo, Yelp, and even apps like Uber, Snapchat, Instagram, and a multitude of other places where consumers interact with that brand while they're seeking to either buy something or discover a product or service.
Got you. Amazing, amazing. And that has to be really hot right now with the transition of, say, desktop search over to mobile search, especially with location and map targeting, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you think about it, everything's mobile now, right? Everything is on the go. And these are micro moments, as Google calls them. I want to buy. I want to know. I want to do something right now, and it's all about instant gratification. For us, it's a secular movement where everything has shifted to mobile, if not already, but it's also pioneering new industries. The geospatial industry, as it's called, has given birth to services like Uber, Lyft, even industries like dating. Tinder is location-based. If you think about probably one of the largest location-based apps out there, as it gives birth to these new industries, our goal is to make sure that for brands, again, their information is not just found, but also accurate. I can tell you, I travel a lot, and I can tell you countless amount of times when I call a phone number and I get the fax, and if I call the fax, I actually get the phone number and a live person when I need to order something. So I think in terms of like what I've seen or what we've seen, there was recently a Google study came out and talked about how much digital maps, just digital maps itself, impact sales around the world. And their understanding of that was around 1.2 trillion in sales. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense how much you use digital maps for. And these are digital maps that not just on desktop anymore. It's Apple Maps, Google Maps, Waze. Right. There's so many different ways that you can, no pun intended to Waze, that you can consume this information, but it's all at your fingertips across a multitude of apps, services, and they make it as easy as just typing into Safari, Spotlight, search, clicking on a calendar invite, things like that. So definitely seeing a lot of fragmentation, a lot of impact in the actual industry itself. And again, it's giving birth to a whole new set of industries that never existed before.
Yeah, it's funny, you bring that up. I never really thought of Tinder being a location-based app, but that makes total sense at the end of the day, right? And
yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't think that, but I think it also pioneered. It also pioneered sharing of location information. I think before that, there were very few apps where people were very apt to turn on location services. But as these new industries, as these new services have come on board, I think location sharing has just become normal. It used to be that people valued all this privacy, but with the new generation millennials, even myself at the ripe age of 21, I'm obviously joking. Location sharing has become ubiquitous at this point. So everybody has it turned on, and it's because again the experiences in these apps have gotten so much better, and the context has gotten so much better and accurate that people are willing to turn that on to be able to consume accurate information.
Right, that's fantastic. So that gives me a whole new way of looking at things. So from an SEO perspective. Right, so
I'm here to blow your mind, Loren. That's what I'm here for.
I hope so. So from an SEO perspective, and of course it's SEJ, right? So we talk a lot about SEO. I noticed that with some of my clients, some brick and mortars, and especially schools, right? Schools and universities. We noticed about a year ago that there was a fast acceleration or transition from desktop into mobile. And not only that, but around the same time, we also saw a dip in organic search oriented traffic to the website. So I had a client call me freaking out, and I looked at everything and I'm like, well, you still rank for everything, and you still rank really high in the local pack. You're still where you should be, top of fold, but your mobile traffic is skyrocketed. And when you search for your business name, they do a lot of commercials and radio and stuff like that. So when you search for your business name on the mobile, now Google gives people 3 options. First, the call, second, directions, and then third, click the site, right? So at the time, Google My Business had a little bit of data around that, and they've been getting better. But what it really did was it brought for me from an SEO perspective, it brought a whole new set of KPIs and a whole new after the fact, like how to measure the action that came from performing that same search, which used to go to the website, right? Which really changed stuff from the way that I work with that client and other clients. But it also changes the way that I search personally, right? So, could you go into that a little bit, like Google not necessarily just being a list of 10 blue links anymore?
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. The acceleration, I give Google, the Google My Business team, a lot of credit in the past couple of years. They have really taken hold of that product and accelerated its adoption and then also innovation. And you're absolutely right. If you search for something like dentists, dry cleaners, any type of service, medical, healthcare, any type of service, any type of banks, ATMs, the results that you're going to get, and let's just talk Google for now. If you do any type of search, the result that you're going to get is a local pack, because Google automatically knows that you're trying. Again, I want to. It's a micro moment. You want to do something. And they're trying to shorten that search cycle as much as possible so that you're able to get to the answer as fast as possible. So if you do any type of searches like that in Safari, in Spotlight, even in voice, what you're going to get is just local results. And this is a huge deal for SMBs because it now exposes you or your brand or product or service immediately as somebody is searching for some type of product and service. Another thing that Google has done is that they've actually accounted for the fact that near me is already part of your search. Before it was, you have to say dry cleaners near me, but now, with the advent of the mobile phone, if you're doing it on a mobile phone, they automatically assume the fact that you're looking for a dry cleaner near me. It would be very interesting or a weird use case if somebody's looking for a dry cleaner 1,000 miles away. I mean, I'm in Arizona right now. I don't think I need a dry cleaner in New York. So I think kudos to Google for assuming all these things and making that search experience way more valuable for the consumer, but also for the small business by giving all those CTAs, right? So I can get directions, I can call, I can go to the website. Ultimately, let's be honest, a lot of these small businesses, they just want a phone call, right? What they really want is they want money to end the month with and to start with. So yeah, I think what we've seen and what the Google My Business team is doing is basically a lot of Google search will return local results, products and services. They will account for near me, and they also account for modifiers like best restaurant or best Thai restaurant, and that automatically assumes that you're looking for something with X stars or above, a Thai restaurant that is also near you. Think about all those modifiers, and all you have to type was best Thai food. Google automatically does all this for you in the background and brings the best Thai food that is rated maybe 4 stars or above within a mile from you that you can go visit or call or get a reservation right now. So, and on top of that, they've also adopted a whole new set of structured data and basically helping consumers consume data with the use of structured data. In a very, very seamless experience.
So and Google's ability to push out those cards has, first of all, it's amazing. Like, I have the same routine. I'm a hermit. I'm home most of the time when I'm not traveling, and I go to the same places, right? So I'll go to like Albertsons or like the bank or something like that, and then I'll just get a notification as soon as I get back to my car that, hey, it's going to take me 8 minutes to drive back home because of traffic, right? But then when I go somewhere where I typically is not on my normal route, and I park my car, Google will alert to me that, hey, your car is parked at such and such intersection, which totally blows me away. So now we're talking about things like, hey, if I'm continuously going to a Thai food place or a massage parlor or a laundromat or wherever it may be, Google knows that that's where I like to go. That's where I like to eat. I can have ads sent to me and pushed to me for possibly different locations, which is something that like Foursquare and Yelp are doing to an extent right now. So there's really a wealth of new growth there. And, I remember those days when retargeting was controversial, talking about the whole like privacy thing. Like the days when retargeting and targeting based on behavior started. I think it was Almanet was one of the first companies to bring that out. It was a huge controversial topic, and now it's just part of everyday life. On top of that, I remember reading a study that Google put out recently, which may be the same as the mapping impact study that you were discussing in sales study, was that there's been a significant decrease in people utilizing the words near me and utilizing zip codes in their queries, because Google has been able to alter user behavior so they know that when they're searching, they don't have to put that information in there any longer, which is kind of interesting, again, from an SEO perspective, because if I get on a call with a client or someone and they're like, we got to put every single zip code, in the area so people can find our business. Like, no, you don't need to do that. People don't search them anymore, dude.
I think and that's the beauty of location services being ubiquitous, right? Like these apps that have made it necessary to have it turned on because they provide so much value at the end of the day. I don't turn off location services because it just improves my life, makes me so much more productive as a consumer, as a person. That now you can lay on top of that. I think another thing is that Google's also made a lot of other things a lot easier to search for, like events, menus, products and services, because they have adopted structured data and schema to be able to present answer boxes and answers as soon as possible. Like if I'm searching for, a certain type of concert or a certain type of, where's the best happy hour, where can I get X type of product? Like I just want, a certain type of product, and I Google for that. Like if there's menus that are on your website that have structured data, they're not able, that small business is not able to serve that consumer that is looking to buy something or do something with that service.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. So like I tried, just to tell a story, about every time I use E24, something bad happens. And E24 customer service is great. So as you know, it was Yelp owned, but I think it was recently acquired, right? Did Grubhub recently buy that from Yelp?
E24 is part of, I think it's Yelp.
It's Yelp. Okay, so when I order something on E24, right, really cool interface, it's fantastic. I order it and it says it's going to be to my hotel room or house in like 30, 45 minutes. So really happy. Sometimes when I travel with family, I'm ordering something for my kid, right? Because I don't want to order off of room service for a kid. So, and pay triple the amount. So I'm waiting and then like it doesn't come. So I hit up E24 customer service and I'm like, hey, can you contact this restaurant and see what the status is? And they typically do. They'll call and they'll come back saying, oh, they never processed it, or oh, they say it's on the way, or whatever it is. So it seems like in terms of the information communication lifespan there, everything is happening on the digital level, and then the fumble of the ball's fumbled pretty much between some of these smaller businesses being able to take these orders and place them from various different locations, right? So
I think this can only do so much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's done everything perfectly for me, and it's handed it off to the small
deliver a good service and a good product at the end of the day. I think, and that's where reviews come in really handy. I think for us, like what we're seeing is, as you talk about, by the way, E24 was Grubhub, I was wrong. I think when we go back to the concept of, what we call intelligent search, and that means products and platforms like Google, Apple Maps, Yelp, Facebook, Uber, E24. Think about all the proliferation of location data across all these apps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What we're seeing is that your website, and you mentioned that the website traffic for one of your clients went down, and what we see is that we're seeing 2 to 5x more views off the website across these other platforms that small businesses aren't even aware of. Their brand is being looked up on Google Maps. Like, do you have the right profile image? Are local guides and other people submitting your images without your knowledge, and they're not probably the best images? Are you aware of these things? Because thousands and thousands and millions of people are on these platforms searching for you. And for us, it's like, again, going back to our mission, we want to give our clients control over that so that you have the right profile image. Let's say you're a plastic surgeon. You probably want to have the best images possible, right? And not something that's botched. So these are the types of things that, I think for the audience here is to be aware of that. If you shake your Google Maps app, right, in your on your iPhone, you can actually suggest edits. Anybody can do this.
I know that.
Yeah, so all these, again, all these services have a feedback mechanism where any Tom, Dick, or Harry can add suggestions or edits. And for us, we want to again make sure that brand is able to control that, so that somebody else doesn't change your address, your hours, or add images that aren't relative to your business. I've looked up businesses where it could be a restaurant and you see a boutique or a museum picture, right? It's totally not relevant. It's not even the right business.
Yeah.
And these edits are up there. So a business has to be in control, and brand has to be in control of their their digital knowledge is what we call it. And another thing is that, as they switch to mobile and these other platforms, that, we see almost 5 times more engagement on something like Google Maps and Apple Maps and Yelp and Facebook. Because again, it's very relevant information. And if you think about that knowledge graph or the knowledge card, when a local result comes up in Google Map, it's a picture, it's the name, it's the address, it's the phone, it's the hours, everything I need to make a decision, right? So it's very succinct. And that's when you say there's a driving direction, there's a phone call, there's a website, very limited options. Humans, like the more limited options we have, the better off we are when it comes to these types of conversion mechanisms. So again, a service like that, A, gets a ton more traffic, B, a brand should be in control of it, and C, they get much more engagement because the information is extremely relevant to what you're looking for.
Yeah, so just adding to my story, right? My client received less traffic to their site, but a spike in phone calls, like a huge spike in phone calls, right? So what we had to do on the back end was make sure that everything to help. It was kind of difficult to attribute the spike in phone calls back to SEO. They have a whisper service, right, where they ask the question, like, where did you find us or whatever, while the person is waiting to be connected to their sales team. But the fact that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, with the NAP, name, address, phone equation, with organic, we currently don't have the ability to use tracking phone numbers at the moment. Am I correct there?
So I think it depends. I think if you have that phone number, it depends on how you use it. It could be, you can have a local phone number and also a tracking phone number. It depends on like what property you want to use it on. But yeah, I think there are places that do allow for that. But it has to be consistent, right? So the goal is to have consistency across the ecosystem, because you don't want 40 different phone numbers across 40 different properties, because that causes a ton of confusion. And this is not just from a Google perspective, it's also from like a user experience perspective.
Right.
If I'm seeing like a 888 phone number and I'm a local consumer and you're like, a quarter mile away from me, I know you're right there. Like, why am I calling a 888 number? And sometimes users hesitate to do those things. So just things to be cognizant of from a user experience perspective.
Yeah, I think CallRail recently put out a study saying that local phone numbers got 3 times as many click-throughs as toll-free as well.
It makes sense. As humans, we avoid uncertainty, right? We want certainty and we don't want uncertainty. So I think when we see something that's my zip code, my area code, that's me. And I'm gonna tend to call that rather than think that I'm gonna go to a call center that's maybe in another state or another region.
Exactly. So Raj, I mean, you brought up when we've talked about it a little bit, the knowledge graph and knowledge cards, and Google giving businesses the ability to have your controlled business information and oriented data at the top of the results, the top of the mobile results, right? Right panel on the desktop, but on mobile, it's the first scroll. So what's the importance
actually, even on desktop, it's part of the main. Even on the desktop, it's part of the main results. Right. So if you look at the search, when it comes up, if you search dry cleaner on the desktop, you'll still see local results. Because again, I think you might have location turned on because of your IP. Google will know that you're in Phoenix or you're in LA or you're in certain regions. So there's still a semblance of local results on desktop. So it's not just mobile. This is consistent across devices, and it's agnostic to devices.
Gotcha. So why would, for our beginners out there, or maybe some small business owners, why is taking care of the knowledge graph important for that brand?
Yeah, so knowledge graph, I mean, if we step back a little bit, this is basically an entity that's like fundamental to your business. So if you own a restaurant, right, for example, and you need to list your menu and your location so that Google will know the menu items, and hopefully the eatery like shows up in the results if a consumer searches for, let's say, pancakes. Similarly, for a bank, those entities might be like branches or ATM locations. For healthcare, it might be the provider name, types of insurance that's accepted. So these are largely entities or attributes for a type of business. For retail, it could be holiday hours, seasonal sales. So it's largely basically entities that make up who you are. If you think about a supermarket, right, they probably want to show up for something like groceries. So category is also an entity at that point. But a knowledge graph is largely who you are, and those entities are basically granular attributes that describe who you are. And this could be like a repair shop, right? But repair shop is not enough. It could be that you do oil changes, you do brake service. So these are all entities in knowledge graph that describe what the business is, what it does, not necessarily how it does it, but it defines all these things. So like if I'm, you and I are both parents, right? And I want to go to, if I want to take my kid out for dinner, I want to find a place that are good for kids. So sometimes I'll do a search for that restaurant that is good for kids.
Yep.
And boy, if you're a restaurant that is good for kids, you want to make sure in Google, like your listing and all these other listings, that you have that selection check. That hey, we are good for kids. And boy, if you're a nightclub or a restaurant that is not good for kids, you want to make sure that is unchecked. And as a consumer, that's the last place I want to end up, because I don't think I want bottle service with my kids around. But I do want to have a nice, buffet with my kids or something else where it's a nice family. That's
something like that, right?
Yeah, that's important. Or like, if Wi-Fi is available, or if it's wheelchair accessible. These are all very important things. If you're like a metro area in New York where I spend a lot of time, is parking available? So these are all part of the knowledge graph that help enhance your brand value to the consumer.
And it's important to have that the same across the board. So if I'm doing, typically for me, I'll do my restaurant searches on OpenTable. So I get OpenTable points, right? And then use those towards whatever. So even like if I'm on the way to the restaurant and I go to Red Robin, I'll do a reservation at Red Robin just to get like 100 OpenTable points. Anyway.
Also OpenTable is the best thing.
Yeah, best thing ever, right? So you want to make sure that the information that you're giving to Google, you're giving everywhere else, right? Because on OpenTable, I would imagine you'd want to have things like, Wi-Fi, good for kids, parking available, wheelchair accessible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and have that information uniform across the board.
Yeah, and it's not just just for restaurants. If you think about like food, like healthcare, like against insurance accepted, what kind of insurance? The financial services, like agents' bios, right? Like what certifications do they have? Like if they're a financial services person, or if they're like a somebody that helps you with financial planning. Like I want to make sure they're certified. I want to make sure they have the Series 7, whatever certification else they need. If it's a retail, like if it's like H&M or some other type of retail giant, like if it's holiday season, like I want to know if they're still open. I mean, we still haven't tackled hours. Hours are still something that boggles my mind that a lot of brands have still not tackled. To me, that's one of the easiest things to take care of. And especially during holidays, especially if you really, really, really depend on foot traffic.
That's interesting. And then also, two problems I always have. Well, one I have is a problem, besides all of my other issues. But the other one I have around this time of year is, first of all, when I'm searching for banks. I'll search for a bank in my area, like if I'm out of town, like, right? If I have to drop by or whatever, say to get something notarized, whatever it may be, right? So I'll end up driving to an ATM machine because it says US Bank or it says whatever bank. So one, the ability to differentiate ATMs from real bank branches, which I think has been more or less done or completed, or they're getting better. But then two, and I wrote a story about this like 5 or 6 years ago, are pop-up stores. So right now it's Halloween season, and there's going to be Spirit Halloween and other Halloween pop-up stores popping up everywhere. And one thing I noticed is that sometimes when you're not in Halloween season, if you do a search for Halloween costumes, you'll see addresses of Spirit and other Halloween companies that do pop-up stores. And it's not just during Halloween. There's pop-up stores around Valentine's and Christmas, especially like as you get closer, like in the New York area, right? There's pop-ups, left and right. So how can businesses avoid that in terms of like that pop-up store may be something completely different, right? And you don't want to have people going there looking for costumes. Like say it's St. Patty's Day, I'm looking for a leprechaun costume. So I don't want to drive to a place that's empty or that's something else now that used to be a spirit costume. So what do I do to take that down across the board too, right? Because as a business, I've put those up because I want people to come into my business while I'm doing pop-up stuff around a holiday or special event. But when it's down, is there a way to turn that off?
Yeah, and I think this is I think one of the biggest perils of local search is that there's been so much noise created, and there's been so many duplicates created, and there's been so many businesses that have been created that were never then let go or deleted or like removed. I don't want to say deleted because I don't think there's ever a chance that you can delete something because there's so many different data sources and there's so many compilations happening that there's no such master record that, you know, if you're here, it cascades everywhere. I think for what we see is that, you know, for a small business or any type of business that has done their own marketing or married and divorced like 10 different marketing agencies, all these agencies tend to create a ton of work. But when you leave the agency, they never go back and, hey, let us clean all that up before you leave us. So I think for like where our position with Yext is that, you know, again, it's all about control. So somebody like a Halloween store is a perfect example. You know, in New York, it could be museums, it could be retail, it could be, you know, somebody that just does like a 2-month type of thing and puts up a museum. But the goal should be that if it starts on October 1st and it ends on October 31st, you'll be able to open it and then close it within that time span. And then again, with Yext, like we want to make sure that control is there so that you're able to drive customers there and then let them know, or let all the properties like, you know, the services like Google, Bing, Yahoo know that, hey, this is now closed because it was seasonal. So seasonal sales are something that, you know, we love to tackle because it's something that I think it's been a big gap in local search. Especially when it's shut down, not necessarily when it's up and running, but the ability to be then able to say like, okay, we're done. Don't come here anymore because there's no leprechaun costumes. You know, it could be something else. You know, and then you don't want to show up there with a leprechaun costume because that's not good for anyone.
Yeah, especially if you're 6'5". So at the same time, one thing I had noticed when I did the same thing was like coin. So let me ramble a little bit here and we'll get into the next topic. So I was working for a costume company that did not have those pop-up stores. But what they did have around that time of year, they had a certain amount of space that they leased in existing stores, right, to sell their costumes. So say like maybe a Target or something like that would be where they would have that space, like CVS has now at Targets, for example. And the case that I tried to use at the time to set up local listings in Google was that Coinstar, if you do a search for Coinstar, typically you will, at the time, I'm not sure about now because I haven't had to use a Coinstar for a little while. I haven't cleaned up the piggy bank recently. But if you search for Coinstar, it would show you Coinstar machines, which are basically vending machines in different supermarkets. So that was my case that I used to try to get the listings there. It didn't work out, but anyway, just reminiscing. So it looks like, okay, you're back. Hey, you're moving now.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, awesome. So cool. Enough about that. You know, the one thing too is that, okay, so I do a search for restaurants that are good for kids, right? Or hotels that are good for kids, or restaurants with great Wi-Fi. And sometimes I go way beyond the knowledge card and I look at the results and I'll see like a TripAdvisor result where someone is doing a review of the Wi-Fi in a hotel, or whether or not the hotel had kid watching service, or a review of the Wi-Fi in the restaurant. And what I'll do is I'll scroll down and I'll click that review because I want to see, and then I have to do like a control find for Wi-Fi once I get to the Yelp page or whatever. But I want to see, I know that Wi-Fi might be listed on the card, but then I'd like to see as a user if someone's doing a review of the Wi-Fi, is that a review of good Wi-Fi, bad Wi-Fi? How is that experience, et cetera, et cetera? So why do reviews matter beyond that for business owners in local search?
Yeah, so I think this is a topic that's obviously been debated a lot, right? And word of mouth is not all digital. If you think about it, Yelp was the stalwart that started all this, and then now we have Yelp. You mentioned TripAdvisor, and in travel, there's some Booking.com, Expedia. Everybody has their own reviews platform. Google and Facebook have their own reviews platform now, and they're pushing it aggressively. Google with local guides. Right, to get a lot more reviews. Yelp with its Elite that they kind of pioneered the whole industry. And to kind of like level set why it's important, if you think about like 60% of consumers actually say that star rating is an important factor in purchase decision. I actually think that's low. I think it's probably a lot higher than that. And then 87% of consumers don't even consider a business that has like an extremely low amount of reviews. So it's paramount for a business to do two things, and it's twofold. One is that encourage your customers, especially the happy ones, folks that loyal ones, the local ones, to leave reviews. Don't incent them for it. That gets into a total different world, but encourage them, and then respond to them. I think a lot of small business owners or just business owners in general don't respond to reviews. It's great to put a human response to something like, hey, they did a great job. So I think it's, as a small business owner, as a GM, it's up to me to go in that review and say, thank you so much. And next time you're here, come and say hello, right? It's very important to make it human. And I think that's where you really separate yourself from a lot of the review spam, and where people are like, oh, this might be game. There's way too many reviews, way too fast. But if you see a human responding to that, I think it elevates your game to a point where somebody's like, wow, they actually care about who they are and their customer.
That's very true, because more than often I see businesses, hotels, restaurants, and by the way, Raj, you might want to reset your camera again. Sorry, everybody, we're having a little bit of Raj getting stuck in conversation, image issues going on, but the audio is good. So let's go. So you're great. So what I see a lot of is hotel owners, restaurant owners only responding to negative reviews on TripAdvisor and Yelp, right? And only concentrating on cleaning up the fires, and not necessarily. It's like the emphasis is on the people that are probably not going to come back to the restaurant versus the people that had a great time, enjoyed the food, enjoyed the service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So your recommendation right there for people to respond to positive reviews is an actionable item that any business owner listening to this right now or SEO can get into. And another thing we have not discussed is the ability for Google My Business, businesses now to send out messages and offers via Google My Business. Is that something you've done much of?
I think this is actually just, they released Google Posts via Google My Business through their UI, which means if you log in, you can post messages. It's a great way to amplify what you do. It's basically on your listing or your knowledge card. You can create your own post and say, hey, this sale is happening, or even share a review that was left in the post. Again, it's just kind of reusing the content that you already have. So it doesn't have to be everything that's brand new. You don't have to think through all this new types of content. You already have it. It could be that, we have a brand new dish for the restaurant. We have a brand new sale for this retail store. Or we're open X amount of hours now. Or we just improved Y because of you told us about X was wrong. So there's lots of ways you can use Google Posts to engage consumers and people that are searching for your product and service. I know we just rolled this out yesterday, so it's very timely that so brands can actually take advantage of this. So I think it's frankly one of the most powerful things GMB has done, to be able to have conversations with consumers. And they also just rolled out Q&A, which is another great feature that, if I have questions about a certain type of business and they hear all those questions over and over and over, it's a good candidate to add to the Q&A so that, again, remove uncertainty. So that somebody that is uncertain, they're able to get that answer and able to then transact with you.
Did Bradley Horowitz move over to Google My Business from G+?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But it seems like to me, Google's finally gotten something right in terms of social and interaction after years.
And we work with their product.
And they have 100%. I mean, it's amazing what they've done with Google My Business.
I think, and we work with their product team, and I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, they're just light years ahead, and they're just making some incredible changes. And I think it's directly, in Silicon Valley, like we always say, you want to change everything for the better. You want to do all this. I think they're directly impacting everybody's lives by creating a better user experience on maps, removing uncertainty, and then exposing, all the good that small businesses do for GDP and this country and for consumers themselves.
Yeah, and you just brought up some more actionable items. So not only the responding to positive reviews, but something that listeners can do right now. Say if you're a restaurant or you're a restaurant franchise, you're managing a restaurant franchise account, something like Seasons 52 that continuously updates its menu, right? The ability to utilize those Google My Business posts to let people know that you have an updated menu or updated menu items or seasonal specials or daily specials. I mean, some of my favorite restaurants have new specials by the day, especially places that are farm to table or whatnot. So the ability to do that and update those users and differentiate yourself from wherever you are in the knowledge card and in the local pack, whatever you want to call it, you could be ranking number 2 or number 3 and still be able to get that attention. Right? And that's what we're all looking for at the end of the day.
And it shows engagement too, right? And I think it's a good litmus test is that if you make any type of update to your, I want to say knowledge graph, right? Because it's all the content, name, address, phone, hours, whatever it is, ask yourself, will this make me more money or get me more customers? And if that answer is yes, make a post for it. Especially if you're like changing addresses, changing hours, changing our website, adding something new. Changing something that wasn't right, now it is right. I think all those are questions that you have to ask yourself, like, is this something that'll make me money? And then yes, if it is, then yes, make a Google post of it or get your engagement.
Nice. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left. If anyone is on live right now on Facebook Live, this is your chance to ask Raj, Vice President at Yext and the GM of geomarketing, a local search or local SEO question. So we basically have the king of local search on right now, and here goes. So if I have Jim asks, so if I have a customer with multiple locations and they want to change their hours for the upcoming holidays, so maybe this person represents 10 locations, 100 locations, whatever it may be. How easy is it to use a tool like Yext to set that up, knowing that holiday season is only a month away?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question because it is coming and it's something that we see a lot in our platform where we see hours being updated. I mean, it's as easy as adding the hours and then saying apply this to all my locations. You could do it regionally. It just depends on how you have your brand marketing set up. It could be that you have 4 regions and each one of those regions have different hours. But it's largely the concept of having holiday hours, which are separate from your normal hours. And if you reset holiday hours, that should basically override your normal hours and say for this timeline, this is the new set of hours, and apply them to all, and then syndicate it everywhere, and then make sure that is published everywhere. So setting it is one thing. I think getting it published is a whole other thing, which is something that's near and dear to our hearts to make sure that we want to get this information out too. There's no point in doing all this and then praying that all this information gets out. You have to make sure it gets out because the 2 hours extra that you're open, you're paying people, you're paying staff, you're doing marketing, you're doing all this spend. But then if you're not making sure this information actually gets out, I think it's a huge miss on any marketing team. to make sure that those extra 2 hours per day, per week, per month is actually getting you a return, so that people, especially if you depend on on foot traffic.
Yep. And again, as a consumer, if it's almost like if I'm doing my Christmas shopping the day before Christmas Eve and I'm getting off work at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock, and I'm searching for stores that are open so I can go buy my kids something, and your listing says that you close at regular times and your competition says that you're open until midnight, I'm going to your competition then and there. And you can have people standing around waiting and wondering why no one is going to their department store, even though it's open later the day before.
And I can promise you, when kids want something, we get that for them.
Yes. That's what we do. That's what we do. So, one question about that, by the way, before we move on to the next question, is if I'm in your system and I set that up for one holiday season, is that saved to be automatically launched the next holiday season from a seasonality perspective?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it is that you can kind of engage and then disengage and then re-engage it again.
Excellent. Okay. Next question, another Yext-oriented question from Tracy. So Tracy Munn, hi Tracy, asks, does Yext enable the same Google post to be published across multiple GMB, Google My Business listings? Example, she may manage 70 franchises. So if those 70 franchises want to put out the same post, is it possible to use a tool like Yext, given your announcement that you said came out yesterday, to manage those posts across all of those locations with the same message?
Yeah, so I think I want to be careful when I answer this. I think the short answer is yes, but at the same time, make sure that it's a broad enough message that you're not kind of spamming all your locations or your franchisees. What we see is it depends on how you have everything set up. If you have by region, by language, by product, by service, it just depends on how everything is set up. With great power comes great responsibility, is how I'm going to answer that. If it's something that's broad where all locations are now open till 12 a.m. or something for holidays, perfect example. But if it only applies to 10 of them, then do it for those 10, and then not necessarily for all of them, and make sure it does apply to all those, and make sure that your franchisees or your location GMs and people also know that you're doing this. It's critical to make sure that the downstream that everybody knows that you're doing this, and then ask people how they found you. And if they say Google Posts, then hey, you're doing an awesome job.
You're right. That's the one thing I was thinking. If you are a franchise, make sure your franchisees know that you're going to be putting that out, because they're going to have people walking in the door asking about something that they saw, or they're going to have someone answering those questions or whatever it may be, and they need to know. So that's a very good tip. Thank you.
Yeah, and the beauty of this, and just to extend what Tracy asked, is that you can create CTAs as well, right? So you could say book, shop, learn more, sign up, get offer. You can also create now and post it later, right? So there's a way to kind of set up all this stuff too, so that you don't have to right then and there. So you can kind of set up campaigns in a way. So start thinking of this as a way, another campaign that you can do, or a tactic as campaign, so that you can amplify using Google all the changes that you're making or the stuff that's coming up.
Yeah, I think we should probably do a follow-up Facebook Live /podcast about Google My Business, like the amount of stuff that they're rolling out right now. Yeah. I think in the new year, we should definitely, because I can imagine them rolling out more around holiday season, definitely, right? So we'll talk about something in the new year. I think we could spend 45 minutes just talking about Google My Business. So, again, thank you for the question, Tracy. Really appreciate it. Raj, it's been great, my man. Always good talking to you. Always good hanging out with you. Tell our listeners a little bit more about Yext, and then also your upcoming Onward event, please.
Yeah, so I think, just to recap, our mission is, again, put brands and businesses back in control of their digital knowledge. And that digital knowledge is your name, address, phone, hours, product, services. Think of all the attributes in the knowledge graph. We want to we want to put you in control of that, and then not just put you in control, but make sure that information is everywhere and it's accurate. The other thing is, and Loren is coming to this event, is that our flagship conference is coming up called Onward on November 1st through 3rd in New York City. Super excited about that. We've got some amazing, amazing speakers. We've got the original Jedi, Mark Hamill, speaking. So when you have Luke Skywalker, you know, the Force is already with you. And then, you know, great keynotes from Facebook, Amazon, HubSpot. Just super, super excited to get that going. And, you know, big agencies, you know, like DexYP after their merger, you know, what is their plan? You know, I know Joe Walsh, great CEO, and he's driven like a completely print business into digital. And so we'll have like talks like that as well, where, you know, we're talking to a lot of folks in the ecosystem and our industry as well. So really, really excited for Onward in November.
I'm really excited too, not just because I'm speaking and you asked me to speak, which I'm always excited about, and the accommodations. Like I can't wait to stay in the financial district in New York because I'm usually Midtown. But also, like looking at the speaker lineup and the topic matter, like what we've discussed today, it's all cutting edge, and it's all looking at, I mean, given the name of also one of my favorite books, by the way, it's also what's coming up in the future, and not necessarily talking about war stories or what happened or how you could do this, but this is all cutting edge topic matter, right? And,
yeah.
and it goes beyond SEO. It goes so beyond SEO and search and data. I mean, this is at the end it's a data driven future thinking onward event, right?
And I think I largely attribute that to, you know, Howard Lerman, the co-founder and CEO of Yext. I mean, I've been very lucky to work with some amazing and visionary people. I definitely count him in that category. Yes. And you know, he's always 5 years ahead of everyone. I don't know how he does it, but you know, I love sitting there watching him speak, and I'm excited for his keynote as well because it is always, and there'll be some cool stuff coming up. I'm excited.
Howard is probably the nicest CEO I've ever met in my life. And I haven't seen him since he cut his hair, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, Raj, thank you very much. Thank you for your time today on putting together this Facebook Live / Search Engine Nerds podcast. Really appreciate it. Thank you to our viewers and listeners for coming on and subscribing to Search Engine Nerds. We'll be doing a full blog recap along with launching out the podcast and possibly a video recap. And just let everyone know next time we'll make sure that we have all of our AV stuff in order. But it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Anything else you'd like to say before signing off to our Search Engine Nerds?
I just want to say thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk, and you know, if there's any other questions, you know, I'm always on Twitter. It's at RAJNIJJER, Raj Nijjer. So always love engaging on Twitter if there's any other follow-up questions.
Good.
And I'm officially a nerd now, so this is perfect.
I think you made that. I think you were did that a long time ago. So anyway, thanks again, Raj. It's been a pleasure, and we'll talk to you later.
Cheers. Have a good weekend.